I want to say something, and this is to whom it may concern. Now, if it doesn't have anything to do with you, just drop it. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, all right, just leave it. Okay, just delete it from the message. But it's to whom it may concern. If it concerns you, you will know what I'm talking about. Now, I want to go to the history of the priesthood, and I want to speak to something, and it's a doctrine that sometimes people criticize, and I myself looked at it sometimes and said, what's this supposed to say? But when I looked at it very well, I said, these people have a point in what they're saying. There is something that they call, that they say in ministry. In fact, somebody preached it once in Wolfbeck many years ago, and there was a minister in church that told me, she said, Pastor, you know this thing, this person said, you know, me and my husband, and the husband too is a pastor in Covenant, said, you know, his mother came and said, you know, the firstborns, you should protect this, your child who is the firstborn. You know, there can be spiritual attack on firstborns. And, you know, I think the boy was behaving somehow. And she was telling them, I said, leave her to watch firstborn. You've started a game. So they invited her to Wolfbeck. All right, Wolfbeck dead. So their mother followed them and sat down. And on this day in stadium, the preacher got up, I will mention his name, and said, I want to preach on firstborns and the warfare over firstborns. The mother looked at them and said, I was telling you at home, you people were telling me I don't know doctrine. Have you seen your all right? And they preached a full message. So she was telling him, Pastor, there is something, and I've seen it. And it can be a pattern. And I want to share something. You see, it is true that a firstborn child has a spiritual role and significance in a family. And I believe that when they say there is an attack, I don't doubt it. Now, now I'm not a firstborn, but so I'm not saying from my standpoint, but I've observed it, all right? And they say it can be a pattern. I've looked at it, and it's there. Because a firstborn, what really happens is that parents train the firstborn, and the firstborn train their siblings, okay? So they'll pour everything to the firstborn will tell the siblings and all of that, okay? I'm telling you, this is how you must eat, this is how you must... So there's something. And when God wanted to bring the children of Israel out of Egypt, he was bringing a lot of powerful judgments, 9 of them. Pharaoh did not agree. So God told Moses, said, on the 10th one, Pharaoh is going to let them go. And that 10th judgment is that all the firstborns, I'm not taking 3 of the children, I'm not taking 2, I'm not taking the whole family. All I'm doing is that I'm going for the strategic child, the firstborn. Once I take all the firstborns and Pharaoh hears that the firstborns in the family are dying, he will say, you can go. And he now told Moses, said, the reason why is that Israel is my own firstborn. And that I will go for his firstborn, that he might release my own firstborn to me. And once it started happening, Pharaoh understood that the future of Egypt was the inheritance, and the future was collapsing right before them, because the firstborns were the carriers of the thing to the next generation. So he knew it was gone. So he said, let them go, let this thing stop. So Israel went. Then God now told Israel and said, look, once you give birth, the first child, whoever opens the womb, he said, hear this. This is how you got delivered, on the firstborn child. Whoever opens the womb belongs to me. So he now gave them an instruction, hear this, that once that first child is born, take that child and turn that child into a priest, and let that child dedicate their entire lives to me in the courts, in my courts. And what that child is supposed to do is that child is a priest, will be offering up spiritual sacrifices on behalf of the rest of the family. And based on spiritual sacrifices that firstborn is offering up, the rest of the family there will be prospering. And that the rest of the family should understand that that is the priest. He will do no other work, but just be offering up spiritual sacrifices. So the benefits of what they get from the field, they should use to take care of that firstborn child inside the priesthood. Then God said, I said, all right, we'll do it. God said, all right. I just said that to you to make you understand something. That's not exactly what I'm going to do. Now, what I'm going to do is that instead of the firstborn child, I'm going to take the Levites to myself, which means so you don't have to take anybody in your family. I will take an entire tribe called the Levites to myself. So I believe this, and it's to whom it may concern, that if you're a firstborn, all right, there's that spiritual responsibility that you have. And if you're not fulfilling that spiritual responsibility, you can get exposed. And that spiritual responsibility is that it is you as a person that must go into the courts of God and make intercession for that family and stand as the priest of that family. You are the one, you cannot, no matter what anybody does to you in that family, forgive that person, because you are standing in a spiritual position. You can't be fighting and causing. You see, it's when you start doing those things that the enemy can have way in. You can't be the one fighting people, and causing trouble, and fighting the parents, and fighting this, and and causing division. You are supposed to be there, a priest in that particular place, going in, making intercession. That's why Cain, when he was first born, God came to me and said, "Where is Abel?" He says, "Am I my brother's keeper?" You are your brother's keeper. Are you following what I'm saying here? You are the keeper of everything. If God is going to come and ask for that family, he will first of all ask from your own hands. Now, if you don't do it, then you get somebody else inside that family, all right, who rises up and now begins, all right, to do that. And then God can now say, okay, we'll walk through that. So Joseph was the one who had that mindset. And that's why Joseph carried that inheritance. So what happened was, to show that Joseph was a man who was an intercessor, he was a man who brought the family together, even after all they did to him. When he entered into the inheritance, he still was family conscious. He still was his brother's conscious. He was his brother's keeper. He had that mindset. And so I'm saying this to whom it concerns. You as a firstborn there, you cannot be in strife to your parents. You cannot be antagonistic, to other members inside of the family. You must understand, right? Because if God said, Israel is my firstborn. Israel is my firstborn. And who was it he said? He said, you are my firstborn, the beginning of my strength. He said, unstable as thou art. You are unstable as water. He warned him. He said, you will not excel. He said, Isaac was telling one of his sons, he said, oh, Jacob, this is what you are supposed to do. You will not excel. So it's important that you understand I'm not a firstborn, so I'm not saying it to myself. All right, the responsibilities that you have, spiritual, all right, speaking. And it's likely that if a firstborn gets born again first in a family, all right, all the children probably will follow that firstborn, all right, and get saved. Because technically, that child, all right, is the leader. Is the child that if one of them wants to do something, there's the firstborn that will go and meet the parents and say, look, I'm saying, let him do it, or let her do it. All right, if they say they want to marry somebody and the parents say, I don't agree. If they go and meet the firstborn says, okay, don't worry, I'll talk to them about it. Can go in there as an intercessor and intercede and make use of that authority. So I believe that sometimes firstborns think that they are just like other children. Are you following what I'm saying here? And when you just leave yourself like that, then you are left like that. All right? So if it doesn't concern you, it doesn't concern you. To whom it may